Hello, everyone, and welcome to Sunday Politics live here on Channels Television. I'm Sean Kimbale, Channels Television's global headquarters here in Lagos, Nigeria. Just about a week ago, we were told that President Buhari promised that the Jangabi abduction will be the last. But before the weekend, the president also gave the service chiefs an ultimatum to end the insecurity crisis across the country in a matter of weeks. But it appears some of the attacks are not going away just yet. Only today, two incidents were reported. One in Ekiti State, where two farmers were killed after a clash with some herders, and in Kaduna State, gunmen attacked the Kaduna Airport staff quarters and abducted 12 people. So now we hope to make sense of the happenings around the country, especially on the issue of insecurity, and perhaps try to build hope on or see how these killings and the ugly incidents will end. We've been on this matter for some time and trying to get perspectives. Sheikh Gumi told us on Channels Television that we shouldn't call these some of these people bandits because they're fighting for their survivor. He told us that the nomadic herdsmen, who are the Fulanis, the nomadic Fulani herdsmen, are perhaps responsible for this, but he said they're fighting for survivor. The governor of Kano State had already also told Channels Television, trying to differentiate between what we're seeing today in Nigeria. Those herdsmen or the Fulanis who are not Nigerians are the ones who are Nigerians, and what should be done to the criminal ones. He talked about data and how that will be important. Let's take a listen to what the President Muhammadu Buhari said as regarding the ultimatum that he gave to the service chiefs to clear all of these insecurity threats in a matter of weeks. Take a listen to President Buhari.
Security meeting, I have taken the responsibility as Commander-in-Chief for you to go out into the field and secure the country. I have accepted responsibility for your actions in the field. It's up to you to identify your competent officers, irrespective of seniority and paper qualification, and deploy them to make sure that we secure this country. We have got a few weeks to do that because by the rainy season, we expect people to develop confidence and go back to the land so that we don't get in trouble by being away from the field and therefore unable to produce enough food for the nation. We all look forward to you to perform, and I, as a CNC, I'm backing you 100%, and I expect you to effectively deploy your officers and men to secure the country.
Well, you heard the President, Muhammadu Buhari, ask what he wanted the service chiefs to do, and it's a weak ultimatum that is given to them. So tonight, we'll talk about some of the situation and finding a lasting solution, at least from a perspective of someone who has practically seen and gone through some of these issues. I'm being joined tonight on the program by the former Deputy Governor of Kaduna State during the first term of Governor Nasir El-Rufai, Mr. Barnabas Bala Bantex. He joins us on the show tonight from our Abuja studio. Thank you, Your Excellency, for joining us tonight on the program. And considering your enormous knowledge of some of the problems as regarding insecurity and some of the problems that we have in the country, I'm curious, Your Excellency, how did we get here?
Well, thank you very much, Shehu. Good evening, and good evening, Nigerians. Well, it's quite a wide topic, and I don't think time will permit us to go through the details. But I'll say something that I've said repeatedly right from the time I was in the National Assembly and when I became the Deputy Governor of Kaduna State under Malam Nasir El-Rufai. One of the reasons that stares me in the face each time I look at the issues is the fact that we are not working very closely with the science, with research, and so we hardly capture quite correctly the causes and the driving factors of insecurity. What we do usually rather lazily is to fall within the realm of ethnicity, religion, regionalism, and politics, and leave what probably the path through which we'll get solution to the issues. For example, the nomadic problem, by those who have done adequate research, is something that countries of this world have gone through, even including Europe, for over 500 years. And the findings are there for any serious-minded person to read through and see how solutions were arrived at by these nations and why today they are peaceful. But we don't go that way. We usually find it easier for political reasons, to go along what is popular rather than what is based on adequate research. At the beginning of the crisis in Kaduna State, we realized and walked along the fact that climate change was playing a huge role. We read a lot of documents. We watched the documentary by Saro Wiwa Jr. and so many other materials that informed us as to what the real causes of insecurity could be. But I think, in addition to this, for lack of time, we have also operated a nation where national boundary is totally insecure, so to say, and supported also by a treaty by West African countries, which the National Assembly has not taken a careful look at in order to make the necessary corrections and probably exit from it where it is not possible, because this treaty intended initially was to benefit trade, but at the end of the day, it's benefited terrorism more than the economy, more than trade between these countries. I expect the National Assembly to have acted very fast, because it was earlier in the day that the president and other Nigerians identified the fact that this terrorism was more exported than something that was created within. And so the next question was, how do people move in? Is it possible for Nigeria to accommodate and take care of the welfare of a number of people moving in and out of the country whose numbers you do not know? So these are some of the issues. There are quite a number of issues that we have looked at. But in Kaduna State, while I was Deputy Governor under Malam Nasir El-Rufai, these were the things we looked at as soon as we came in. In Kaduna State, for example, we first took a cursory look at what the causes of the insecurity in the state were, and we discovered it was divided into three. In the central part, we had drug addicts who were just into gangs, killing people for no good reason. For that, we, of course, gave the police the necessary support, and in no time that was dealt with, and it is no more. In the forest of Sambisa and lining up the area of the entire Northwest, we discovered that cattle rustlers had a free day living within those forests. The governors of the Northwest, including Nigeria, came together in Kaduna and put some money together to flush these people out of the out of the forest. But you see, in every step we took, we needed a national consensus. We needed a national agreement on the way to go. So it wasn't, security apparently cannot be solved, through some segmented or through the actions of individual states without a national cohesion that gives a national definition of what the insecurity is, so that we find a national solution to it. This has been part of the problem. And so I look forward to a National Assembly that will sit up very quickly and deal with the issue of that treaty and exit it if necessary or make corrections, because I know other nations using the same treaty have behaved differently when it came to how people go in and out of their nations.
That's a very critical point that you've made about our borders and the movement around, because some of the governors have talked about the ECOWAS protocol. But let me ask you about the order of the president to the service chiefs to end the insecurity in the country in a matter of weeks. Do you see that as an uphill task?
Well, ordinarily I will feel so, but coming from the president himself, I will expect that he has had adequate discussions behind the scene. That was the summary of what we saw on television. But I believe that he has had a detailed discussion behind the scene with the military chiefs, who must have told him what their challenges are, if that task is going to be accomplished, and with the president having also made a promise or assured them that he will deal with the issues they require to make the fulfillment of that task possible. So it's difficult for me to go into that. But like you said in your introduction, the continuous killing that is going on, ordinarily to a man on the street like myself, I would think is a real uphill task. Because for quite some time, we appear to be moving behind instead of moving ahead of the terrorists, of these gangsters who have destroyed our economy, led probably by a cartel that the federal government apparently has not broken or has not identified properly. Because when you see kidnappers and you see the way they look, and you consider the billions that they've taken, that they've been used to ship to where God knows, you will know that there is a cartel behind the whole thing. And is now the biggest industry, even more than the banks. They've destroyed the economy. At the beginning of this government, there was so much emphasis on agriculture as the way out for the poor Nigerians to become rich. And indeed, it started happening. In Kaduna State, for example, we saw how the poor people, take, for example, the Muslims in the northern part of the state, paid for Hajj within a week, and paid in, completely, without, not in part, because with the interventions of the central bank, supported strongly by the government, farmers were doing well. But what do we have today? The farmers cannot access their farmlands. As if that is not bad enough, their economy is being destroyed. Whatever they have earned before this insurgency is also being mopped up through ransom. Luckily, in this country, we don't keep data, but I can imagine how many billions have moved from very poor, helpless Nigerians. Money meant to empower them to live a meaningful life that has moved into the hands of kidnappers. Unfortunately, I think the federal government needs to do a little bit more or a lot more than what is happening, because we need to break through. We don't seem to know everything, quite frankly. But being security issues, I'm not in a position to say exactly what is happening behind the scene. But certainly I don't know enough. And I think that as a Nigerian, to some extent, I need greater knowledge than what I have. What does it take, for example, to trace this cartel? I'm sorry, I am sounding conclusive about the idea of a cartel. But truly, I feel that there are some people sitting out there who are benefiting from this and who will not let it go in a hurry. But if the president has passed that directive, I trust him. I trust his ability to provide what the service chiefs require. I don't want to see a situation where it is only at their exit, like in the case of the former chief of army staff, who at one time were told by him that insurgency was or had become a thing of the past, but who on his exit said that we needed 20 years. So how is this 20 years? How do we relate these 20 years with the few weeks that the president, who is wrong in this case? What facts were available to the outgoing, the former chief of, the former military chiefs who said we needed 20 years? What facts were they basing it on? How much do we need of those facts to make this marching order by the president successful?
Described some very disturbing circumstances, scenarios there. And if you look at the scale of the killings and the attacks that we have seen in the past weeks and months, leading up to years also, and the kind of promises that the Buhari government and the APC made, does that put a question mark on the ability of the Buhari-led government to arrest or to deal decisively with this situation? Knowing full well that hope is a very good instrument of any government in keeping alive the interest of a people in any idea that they are selling.
Well, this is a fairly straightforward question for me to attempt, to answer. First of all, I see government as a theater of so many people. For example, I've just mentioned to you what is entirely within the purview of the National Assembly to deal with, which is pending. For example, there has been a clarion call all over this country for state police, but there is no state government that is in a position to establish her own state police without the legislative, without dealing with the piece of legislation that provides for that. So what is the difficulty in the National Assembly saying yes or no and explaining to Nigerians why such a popular opinion is still lying down there within their purview? I have talked, for example, about the ECOWAS protocol, how clearly from every casual observer, it's a major issue. If Britain can exit from the European Union for lesser reasons than insecurity, I don't see why we should remain there. If we cannot correct the flaws that make it possible for Nigeria to become the home of everyone. In Kaduna State, there was every effort, to deal with the issues around the nomads. For example, the issues regarding their shrinking areas of grazing, the fact that their cattle had been rustled, the fact that their children had become criminals, so they say. And so we provided, well ahead of time, solutions to this problem, integrate these children into our schools, make the Fulanis to be able to have a place to stay, which is what some people call ranching or reserves or colonies or whatever you call it. But the question remains, and unless the National Assembly answers that question will remain a sore thumb in our effort towards insecurity. Can you plan for a number of people you do not know? You can't. And so the efforts of every state government, these governors apparently are doing their own best in their own way in different states, giving different solutions to the same problem. But the question remains, how can they solve the problem of a number of people they do not know, whose character they do not know, who the people accompanying them they do not know? We've talked a lot about the Libyans, the war in Libya, and how it has generated criminals that flow into the country behind the others. How do we, is there any sieve along the bar? Is there any sieve? If we are spending money in this country on anything, please, I believe that it is better spent on these issues. Are we sieving now that we have agreed to the fact, even by the president, that terrorism is more important than homemade? So when you look at these issues, and then the inability of the governors coming together through probably their forum, not only APC or PDP, every governor through the Governors Forum, to come up with what is a national consensus on the definition of the problem and, to some extent, the solution to it. You can
I would like
again
us to, apologies to break into your thought. I'd like us to take our first break on the program, and I'll allow you to explain a bit more on some of the issues that are on the table tonight for discussion. Let's take a break now, everyone. Up next, our conversation will be on solutions of the issues of insecurity in the country. In the wake of attacks on President Buhari's orders, how do we silence the guns? We get the concluding thoughts of my guest, the former governor of Kaduna State, Barnabas Bala Bantex. Also, don't forget that we go to Imo State, the politics and the planned demolition of former Governor Okorocha's properties. Stay with us, everyone. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone. My guest tonight, a former Deputy Governor of Kaduna State, Mr. Barnabas Bala Bantex, has been speaking to us on the program from our Abuja studio on the security situation in the country and the way forward. Our final moments with him now. Let me get your quick thoughts on some of these issues. When the president ordered a shoot on sight to those carrying AK-47 and criminal elements in the country, in practical terms, what does this mean to those operating in the forest?
Well, is it only about those within the forest? Before now, this problem has lingered on from the beginning to a large extent. The president's order is in line, is correct, is expected. Some people, including myself, will say that I wish it came even a lot earlier because under the law, I don't want to go into the legal issues surrounding this, but I do know enough that it is totally illegal for somebody to be seen carrying arms unlicensed in the name of protecting himself, unless the country has come up with amendments to the law to allow Nigerians. After all, in the United States, people carry arms are allowed. If we've gotten that way, we should tell everyone. But there was no reason why people, in spite of the difficulty of their vocation, to have been allowed to carry arms for this long, going through farmers, and who would better have been managed through the kind of relationship that existed many, many years in the past, where it was a symbiotic relationship between the farmers and the nomads. So it's a welcome idea. The legal experts will say probably the loopholes that may be there. I hope there wouldn't be, because anything coming the way of stopping people who have the capacity to kill others simply because they are armed, freely armed, should be encouraged by everyone. Like I said, I only wish it had come a lot earlier. And for anybody, for any Nigerian, to support this idea. Look, some of us that have lived very closely with the Fulanis do know that there is a difference between the nomads and the criminals that accompany them. Most of these guns are not really. These guns are carried usually by the criminals that accompany the herders, because first of all, this criminality, you can understand that this criminality cannot be driven by somebody traveling with his entire fortune, the flock of his cattle. You know, it must be somebody who has nothing to lose. And this is the way we have identified it. And so the government is right, and I believe that that's the right way to go.
All right. I just have a few minutes, Your Excellency, with you, and I have just about 2 or 3 questions. I don't know how we can quickly tackle them. But let me ask you a bit on the matter of Kaduna State. You were in office, and you told us earlier and how you and Governor El-Rufai looked into the issues of the insecurity there. But things have not abated. We saw 12 people abducted today and an airport where we have military formations just around that place. It's become a very insecure and unsafe place. What is happening?
Well, like I said earlier, Kaduna is not living in isolation from other states. Kaduna is part of Nigeria. In fact, right in the center of Nigeria. So there is no amount of effort that can solve the problem completely, because these bandits move. If Kaduna State were to be walled, we will have a wall around it. Probably, I'm sure, with the steps that the government has taken right from 2015 to date, I don't think there will be any banditry in Kaduna State, because the idea there was not only to apply scientific solution to the problem, but give succor to those who deserve succor and punish those who deserve to be punished. This has been the approach. But unfortunately, Kaduna State has been in the news for the wrong reason. Do remember that Kaduna is the center from where most states are, connected. And Kaduna State also, anything in Kaduna seems to be of serious interest to the media. But otherwise, Kaduna is doing its best. The military there is having all the cooperation. When we talk about, for example, security funds, I hear about Nigerians complaining how governors take security funds for themselves. But in Kaduna State, I remember, I don't know, I hope that is the case with all other governors. The governor has no contact whatever to a single kobo of the security votes. It's in the purview and handled by the SSG. And these are monies that we used in those days and is still being used to empower the military to apply all the necessary technology, towards solving the problems as they arise.
I think
so this is the issue. On the issue of the kidnapping in Kaduna.
Just a moment. I think the good way to end the conversation with you is to get your view on a very important matter, and I'd like you to probably touch on it in like 30 seconds. On the issue of the bandits, negotiation has come up for discussion, and whether or not we should engage in any negotiation with some elements that have been tagged, some of them terrorists, in exchange for the abductees, which some in other claim they will say, no, they are not going to negotiate with terrorists. And on the other hand is the talk of amnesty, blanket amnesty. Sheikh Gumi had told Channels Television that we should no longer call these guys bandits, that these are nomadic herders who are fighting for their survivors. Just in 30 seconds, if you give us your view on whether or not we are handling this with kid gloves, or we are fanning the flame of these crooked acts of criminality?
Well, anybody who knows me knows that I'm not driven by sentiments. But for the first time, let me say quite frankly that Gumi has fallen out of target. I mean, he's fallen out of... in fact, for me, Gumi's statement that is also a show of our failing situation, because when non-state actors are given the privilege to talk this way, rather than talk to authority and advise authority in their privacy and so on over such very sensitive issues, it is a mark of failure as far as I'm concerned. Because the issues Gumi is raising, some of them have touched at the very core of the issues that bring about insecurity. Fortunately for him, people are battling with how to survive, and they are not looking at the details of what he said. But even in a very peaceful environment, some of the comments can spark a lot of... well, let me just go straight to the point. Negotiating with people who have destroyed the economy of thousands of Nigerians, who have made life so totally useless, and who are still doing so, and whose number continues to increase, and who are doing everything they are doing in order to empower themselves, make themselves richer than the ordinary people put together. You can't talk about negotiation. In any case, the money they earn from the acts of terrorism, I don't think the government is in a position to even give them a reward that is more than what they get, because you can only negotiate from a position of strength, either military strength or economic strength. In the case of the military strength, we look helpless, but we hope with the president's order we will be better as we move ahead. But in terms of economy, they are now richer than all of us put together. They've taken billions and billions from people's small savings through ransom. Now, when people make this kind of money, and you want to call them to the table to negotiate, first of all, they are driving desire. It's not ideological, unlike the Boko Haram thing, which was ideologically driven. These are people who are just looking for money. So
Your
you
Excellency,
must negotiate
we're out of
with
time.
them if you have more money to give them.
All right.
Than what they are getting through this insensitive killings of Nigerians. So negotiation, I believe, is not my personal opinion alone. I believe it's the popular opinion among people who mean well for this country. Is not the way to go. Let's just be patient.
Your Excellency, we are obviously out of time, but I must sincerely thank you. Yeah, former Deputy Governor of Kaduna State, Architect Barnabas Bala Bantex, thank you so much indeed for your thoughts tonight. We really appreciate your time with us.
Thank you.
Let's switch gears now and focus on the intrigues in the politics of Imo State. The dust is yet to settle in the impasse between the Imo State government and the former governor of Imo State, Senator representing Imo West Senatorial District, Rochas Okorocha, over government's implementation of the Gazette by the Judicial Panel of Inquiry on Land Acquisition and other related matters, indicting the former governor, Rochas Okorocha. The state government said it has obtained a court order directing the state government to seal off and take over properties allegedly acquired illegally by the former governor and some of his family members. What Channel Television has observed in the past few days is that some of these properties have been marked for demolition or action based on the Gazette, and tonight it appears there are some legal angles on the matter to consider. But Senator Rochas Okorocha on his part believes the state government has refused to obey court orders restraining it from acting on the said properties. And we have parties on both sides of the divide to speak on this matter. From our Abuja studio, he's a human rights lawyer and counsel to the former governor, Rochas Okorocha, Mr. Frank Tietie. He's in Abuja studio. And from Owerri, he's the commissioner for lands, Mr. Enyenaya Onuegbu. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for coming tonight. Let me perhaps begin with our guest in Abuja studio, who is obviously not happy with the situation of things. The counsel of to the former governor, Rochas Okorocha, Mr. Frank Tietie. Okay, I'm being told. Let's go to Owerri. And perhaps the question to ask you, Commissioner, is the agitation from Senator Okorocha's side is that there is a High Court judgment, a perpetual injunction, delivered on the 7th of September 2020. Are you aware of that judgment restraining the state government from acting on these properties?
No, thank you for having me on the program, Sharon, and good evening, Nigerians. The important thing is he is not properly informed. Under Governor Ihedioha, as he then was before the Supreme Court sent them packing, the committee he set up to recover government property, headed by Honorable Jasper Ndubak, went to the premises of a boutique, a fashion house, actually established by the daughter of the former governor, while the father was governor of Imo State. That property is called House of Frida Fashion House. That House of Frida Fashion House is located directly on the railway line, proposed railway line on the master plan of Owerri. In my ministry, even the civil servants then refused to register that title till today. Now that committee went there to recover the generator carried away from the government house in Imo State to that premises. And it led to a physical confrontation between the lady and the officials of that administration, such that they threatened to beat up themselves when she was defending properties apparently belonging to her. Now, she commenced a fundamental rights application at the High Court, seeking to stop that committee from carrying out the function. Remember, by this time, the Judicial Commission on Land Matters had been inaugurated by that administration. So what she went to court to do was a fundamental rights application. If by extrapolation and legal magic, she obtained a judgment covering the title of her father, her mother, her brothers, her cousins, her nephews, and all that, and her husband, we will know that when we court processes come to our attention. But we have an competent Attorney General who will answer on those legal matters. My concern as Commissioner for Lands is restricted to performing the directives issued to me by the government gazette, which I am enforcing.
Hear from Mr. Frank Tietie. On what grounds, Mr. Tietie, is Senator Okorocha pushing some of what he has described as witch hunt?
Well, I thank you very much, but it is so clear to the entire world. What is happening in Imo State is actually a threat to the peace and stability of Nigeria, because we have a governor that has been created, that has been established by law, and then he's superintending over the desecration of court orders that have actually created him. We are talking about the sacrosanctity of a court order here, and somebody talks about magic. We're talking about the order of a justice of a high court of Imo State, and somebody talks about magic. And I mean, we are talking about an order that proceeded from a fundamental rights application. And it's saying that the governor of Imo State, specifically, the government of Imo State, their agents and their privates are perpetually barred from those properties that are listed on that motion paper. And it's clear. And we see a situation where a governor superintends, a governor directs the disregard of such order. Now, we are also talking about an order that is subsisting on those property, yet you find a governor misleading the public, misleading his own officials. We are my learned friend there must be careful, because he must realize that what has happened in Imo State with this recent order or with regards to a forfeiture is an attempt to mislead the judiciary, and he can answer for it. We are talking about a situation where the order that we are talking about is not an interim order. It's not an interlocutory order. It is a judgment order, permanently, perpetually barring the Imo State government from interfering with this property. Yet, they have devised one way or the other, to use what we call the outcome of a judicial commission of inquiry, a fact-finding committee that presented a white paper that was simply meant to guide government. You are using a white paper to go and seal up property, to go and mark property, to cause confusion and create unnecessary embarrassment. So we are talking about a judgment order of the Imo State High Court.
Is the Gazette not a legal instrument in the eye of the law?
A Gazette simply is an instrument indicating what the government is a policy document. The policies of the government is actually an expression of the will of the executive arm of government. But we are dealing with rights that touch Section 43 of the Constitution, the right to own movable and immovable property. It is a fundamental right. You don't deal with such a right with a government white paper. Only a court of competent jurisdiction can handle such a matter. We are talking about a situation where on the 15th, this honorable commissioner had gone to seal those property that have already been covered by a court judgment. What kind of ridiculous
Mr. Tietie, you heard
for court orders that?
Sorry again, sorry that I'm cutting in again, and so that Nigerians can get a sense of what this is all about. So the commissioner also said some of these issues that went to court happened under the former governor, the former governor, Ihedioha. And so is it binding on the new governor or the government under Senator Hope Uzodinma?
What kind of thing is that? We are talking about Governor Hope Uzodinma's administration moving against the property of former governor, now Senator Rochas Okorocha, on the basis of a white paper that was conducted by the former administration of Ihedioha, and then he refuses to take responsibility. Don't we know that's a simple ABC issue, that government is a continuum? So when there is an order that is subsisting against the government of Imo State, then somebody wants to say that, oh, because it happened in Ihedioha's time, it does not affect him, even though he takes the constitutional and legal responsibility as governor. It doesn't make sense at all. The order stands until it is vacated or until it is set aside on appeal. It has not been appealed. It stands 6 months after it has been delivered. So it stands. So what the government should do is to allow the courts to have its way. Let me tell you, I need to make this clear. What is happening in Imo State is of concern to many of us because it's a direct threat to our legal culture. You'll find out that on the 15th, this commissioner had gone to seal a property that is covered by a judgment. And then on the 21st, when His Excellency Governor Rochas Okorocha had gone, because he cannot obey what we call a white paper direction. What is that? It's unknown to law.
Mr. Tietie,
to seal a property. Yeah. And then creating all of that confusion. Now,
Mr. Tietie, just a moment. I've given you enough time to respond. Just a moment. Let's also hear again from the commissioner. Commissioner, you heard what Mr. Tietie, the lawyer there in Abuja, is saying about the action under Senator Uzodinma. Yeah, I'm asking you a question based on what he said. I'd like you to react about what he has described as...
He didn't react.
Go ahead, please.
Yes, thank you very much. The first point is that I want to confirm to you on record that Mr. Tietie was not a lawyer in that case, and I am sure he doesn't know the facts of that matter. Secondly, I was called to the Nigerian bar 13th of December 1991. I don't know when he was called. A gazette is a supplemental legislation having the same effect as every other law to be executed by the executive branch of government. Now, as to that matter was constituted by the daughter of the former governor. She went to court, not the former governor, unless they're saying that the properties that are in issue did not come from Imo State government. Those properties are properties that arose from purported allocation from Imo State land. while the governor was in office, the former governor was in office. Now, if he says he has a judgment of the High Court over property, it is very clear that the law has provided how you enforce a judgment. Let him go about enforcing that judgment. But what is certain is that Imo State government as of today is not bound by any judgment on fundamental rights affecting the execution of the Gazette, which I am carrying out. Now, the simple thing is this. We are not engaging in parliamentary filibustering here. We are talking issues of law, and I don't have any personal stake in this matter, except that I'm carrying out my official functions. Now, in the Gazette, if the former governor was mentioned 500 times because of infraction of the municipal laws, the master plan, the state land law, the Land Use Act, it means that the former governor will cry 500 times because of the illegalities. Because, like Chinua Achebe said in his seminal book, when you bring a maggot-infested wood, you invite the lizard to lunch. So if he has taken more of the rotten moi moi, he will steal more than others. The important thing is that it is not aimed at victimization. In the Gazette which I have, there are 30 petitions by Imo people against Okorocha's living home, Spibat Mansion. It is not being implemented by the government because the commission said that was his private matter. In other areas, 1,512 petitions, he is mentioned in more than 300 concerning state land allocation, concerning abuse of open spaces, concerning abuse of green veggies, concerning abuse of watershed. And my friend guy is telling us victimization.
All right, Commissioner, just a moment.
Yes.
Yeah, just a moment. Let me show our viewers again some of the visual that we obtained, of course, that Channels Television took. Some of these visuals are from yesterday, I understand. And I want the Commissioner to explain to us what exactly this means. Removed by Imo State government within 7 days. Mr. Enyinaya, give us a sense of what will happen after the expiration of these ultimatum that you have marked these buildings for.
Properties you are referring to or you are showing are properties that are presently illegally built on the site designated by the Owerri Master Plan as the permanent site of Imo State Government House. That is the area called Area P in the Owerri New Capital Territory. Now, under Governor Okorocha, he bastardized
I think we have an issue with the connection with Mr. Onuegbu there. Let's go to Abuja today. I wanted him to explain the action of the government so we can get the reaction of Mr. Tietie, who is the counsel to Senator Okorocha. Mr. Tietie, your reaction to some of the issues that he has raised.
The clear situation is this. We have all of these properties pending in various courts in Imo State and in the Federal High Court. It's also interesting that the EFCC, the federal government through the EFCC has also, at a time, obtained interim forfeiture orders with regards to this property, and those orders have also been vacated by through an application by Okorocha's lawyers with regards in the Federal High Court. So you see a situation where all of these properties that are before the Federal High Court, particularly the Eastern Palm University, that is also in a third case, which has been filed, to determine whether the arrangement, the agreement between the government of Imo State and the Rochas Okorocha Foundation, whether that agreement was legal in ensuring that the property belongs to Rochas Okorocha as we speak. Now, it's not enough to raise allegations to be sensational about saying that these properties belong to Imo State government. But why don't you prove it with court? You can only prove it with a government white paper that came from a fact-finding committee that was set up by the governor himself, selected by people that favored him. It is just, it may be a judicial panel, but it's just meant to collect facts. It is not a court. Now, we're talking about a situation where the Federal High Court in Owerri is presiding over over this property in question. The Port Harcourt Federal High Court is also presiding over this property in question. Yet, we find persons all because of desperation to create sensation, to create distraction from true issues of governance by now going to deceive a judge.
So there is another question.
Justice Njemazi, to grant an order covering an order of interim official in a matter that is already before a federal high court and two federal high courts for that matter. That is an abuse of the process of court. And that's what we have in Imo State. Yeah. That cannot happen under a governor that is a beneficiary of the rule of law.
Another question here is, he asks a question that if you have a judgment, why has it not been effected, or why has it not been implemented if you have that instrument of law?
It is a simple thing. Very, very simple. This is a judgment of the Imo State High Court. It is the duty of the court to ensure that its judgments are enforced. One, applications are made where necessary, where you have a recalcitrant executive as we have, a recalcitrant government as we have in this situation. And again, it is expected that those who lead government should be the ones in the forefront of ensuring obedience to court orders. Why would somebody who gets an order of court now go through the pains of fighting government to obey an order, especially a governor like Uzodinma, who knows the benefits and importance of obeying court orders? It is not something that is the responsibility alone of the applicant. The applicant has done it, and it is expected that the government should obey it.
All right. I understand now that we have the commissioner back. So let me allow you to continue. You were explaining the actions of the Imo State government, because I was showing our viewers those pictures there, the videos of the marking of some of the properties linked to Senator Okorocha.
Thank you very much. Now, let me reassure Mr. Tietie that we are capable of meeting any agitation he thinks he has before the court. But the execution we are carrying out, the enforcement of the terms of the Gazette, has no forbearance ordered by any court. There was no court order against what we are doing now. Now, he has not disputed my earlier assertion that it was the daughter of the former governor who went to court to preserve her business outfit. Now, these properties I have told you are built on the government house permanent site. Let him dispute that. These properties are properties of Imo State government. Their location is supposed to emanate from Imo State government. It is not family property inherited by any of the Okorochas. It is not property Okorocha acquired before he became governor. These are properties he appropriated while in office as governor of Imo State with his people. Even his aides, who were unemployed graduates before he became governor, are beneficiaries of that land allocation. We know them. Now, the Gazette we are enforcing, if he has a case against the Gazette, he has to go to court against the Gazette. But he cannot stop executive function carrying out the terms of the Gazette. That is the truth. Now, finally,
just a moment.
You asked me, yes.
Just a moment. Let me ask you this.
Yes.
Since you're a lawyer,
yes,
if there is a court order, because Mr. Tietie has mentioned a vacation of an order of the EFCC when they went to court over some of these properties. If there is a court order asking the Imo State governor to stay action, would the government obey it?
If there is a court order gotten from the date of enforcement of the Gazette on us, of course, we will do the right thing by law, either obeying the order, going to appeal, to attack the decision. But we are saying that the order he's parading is a fundamental rights order against the former administration. And Governor Hope Uzodinma did not constitute the membership of this commission. We inherited it. He did not put one person in that commission. That is how they missed their points. The commission was part of what we inherited when we took over government. And if you come to Imo, 98% of Imo people are happy and anxious that the terms of this Gazette be enforced. We are not here to do the whims and caprices of the powerful
Mr. Onegbu, just a moment, because I'll come back to you to get your final word. But let me go to Abuja studio. Mr. Tietie, let's get your final thought on this. Where do you think you're going from here You heard what the commissioner has said, and it looks like they're going ahead to effect action on some of these properties.
You see, the commissioner is misleading the public clearly to the extent that, and what they are trying to do in Imo State is dangerous. For example, you can't expect that a property that is already before that is already a pending case before the court, they are intervening. And let me tell you, if somebody acquires property and has papers and procedures to show that they were legal, who are you as a commissioner? Who are you as a governor? Who are you as a judicial commission of inquiry to declare that it is illegal, and then on your own, you are going to seal it, on your own, you are going to take it back just because you want to be sensational and appear to be busy, whereas you are not? What you should do in the first place, what they ought to have done, and that's what's wrong. When they had gone to seal the Palm Spring Royal Apartments, when they had gone to seal it without an order, I mean, a commissioner without an order, under a member of the executive, under what ground did he go to seal that? And then rushing back to the court to go and get an interim order that is interim. It is meant to be very temporary. It is not meant to last. Yet, the news is everywhere. They have seized, they have forfeited Okorocha's property. It is not true. It cannot be. You cannot take the property of a Nigerian without a proper court proceedings. And it is not by a white paper, it is not by a gazette that is based on a white paper.
We'll take that as your final word
on the policy of government.
Because we need to go now. And I'd like to, Mr. Onuegbu also, to give us his final thought. But precisely tell us, after the expiration of these 7 days, which we saw that you marked on those buildings, what will happen?
The terms of the Gazette is that area P, the government house permanent site, should be restored to the position of the master plan of Owerri. And that would involve demolition of those third-party properties. That is the truth.
All right.
Okorocha, when he was governor, demolished properties in the public interest for public purposes. He also demolished properties. Now, as of today, those properties have been marked, and it was best advised to the persons involved to remove any valuable thing they have there, because those properties will go down as directed by the Gazette. We are not here to sensationalize issues or mislead the public. We are here to do the terms of the law.
All right. We understand that the 7 days will expire around Wednesday or Thursday this week. And we do hope that, well, the law will take its course and the government also will do its duties. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for the Frank Tietie Council, to Mr. Senator Okorocha and the Commissioner for Lands there, Mr. Onuegbu. Thank you, gentlemen. And that's how we draw the curtains of the program tonight. Thanks so much, everyone, for watching. I'm Sean Akimbale. Bye-bye.